Hello, this is Pretty Guardian, and today I am very excited to be talking to you about my favorite game of the year 2024, and that is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. My first experience playing the Like a Dragon games started back in 2020 with the Yakuza Like a Dragon game. At first, I was very wary of jumping into this series because a lot of the older games are done in a more beat 'em up sort of style, but people were telling me about how amazing it was, and I actually found it on Xbox Game Pass. And so by using that service, I was able to play the game without having to spend full AAA price tag on it, and it knocked my socks off. It was so much fun. It was funny, the mechanics were great, there were so many side activities, and so when I heard that they were bringing back Ichiban Kasuga in this new game, you know I had to jump in. So I've actually been playing it since it came out back in January of this year. I put in over 100 hours in the game, and I'm actually just a little over halfway. So I haven't even made it to the end yet. So if I'm not even at the end yet, you're probably wondering, what the hell are you doing in a single player game that's taking you over 100 hours? Well, let me tell you all about it. The two main characters of Infinite Wealth are Ichiban Kasuga and Kazuma Kiryu. If you've been following this series for a long time, you'll recognize Kiryu as the main protagonist from the earlier Yakuza games. In this game, he's partnering with Kasuga, who, through a series of unfortunate events, ends up going to Hawaii to search for his mother, who had given him up as a baby due to her dangerous entanglements with the Yakuza. Most of the characters from the first Like a Dragon game end up returning, as well as a handful of new ones. The storytelling is truly fascinating to me because many of these characters have distinctly bad traits, such as Eric Tomizawa, who tries to rob Kasuga during their first encounter with each other. I'll spare you the details in case you decide to play the game, but I basically hated Tomizawa at first. I thought he was a gross worm. I can't tell you what the specific point along the way was, but eventually he won me over, and now I think of him as a buddy just like the rest of the characters. There are at least 9 playable characters that I know of in the game. Most of the time, you'll be separated into 2 parties, one operating within Hawaii and the other in Japan. There are 2 main maps that you'll be playing through in the game, with additional dungeons and areas appearing through the main quest and side stories. You get to revisit Yokohama in Japan, the setting of the previous game, as well as an area of Hawaii. From what I've read, the developers have made up their own fictionalized versions of these places, pulling heavily from real-world inspiration. The attention to detail in these maps is astounding. There are lots of people for you to greet and talk to. If you walk into the convenience store, you can see all of the items in the shop laid out in tremendous detail. If you walk into an arcade, you have lots of games to play like Sega Bass Fishing, Virtua Fighter, or the Claw Machine. You can go swim in the ocean and so much more. It makes these places feel alive, as if you're actually there, and gives the game a more genuine sense of exploration. Along the map are many points of interest for you to check out: taxi cabs that fast travel you to different spots, side quests, memories where Kiryu will reflect on his past experiences, items that you can gather, trees to shake, trash cans to loot, the list goes on. While exploring the maps, you'll run into mobs of enemies to fight. If they have a blue marker above them, then that means they're a much lower level than you and you can auto win the fight. Red markers are the standard dangerous level of enemies. Towards the bottom of the overland map, you can see red diamonds indicating the general danger level of the area you're in, with the higher amount of diamonds telling us the enemies will be tougher. Then you have enemies with magenta markers who are much stronger than you. Within the fights themselves, combat is turn-based. Your characters each have different classes that are themed after real-world vocations a person might have, but give them abilities similar to a traditional RPG. The lore in-game is that Kasuga is a bit delulu and likes to imagine himself as being a character in an RPG like Dragon Quest. And so this is how he perceives the flow of combat to be. Different jobs give them different abilities like magic and status effects. Some enemies will be tankier or shielding themselves, and so you'll need to use specific abilities to break those shields. You can knock enemies back into other enemies or into your teammates, who will hit them again for you. Now, one of the big things I love about this game is how interlaced the mechanics are. To give you an example, this game puts a big importance on getting to know your party members. Around the map are different markers where they will share their likes, dislikes, and memories with you in these little chat sequences that remind me of the skits from the Tales of series. These unlock points on a bingo card and level up your relationship with your party. You can also chat with them back at your home base. As they level up and you have these chats, they'll have powerful tag team abilities they can do with Kasuga in battle. They'll start running up and hitting enemies that you just downed, and they just generally get stronger. There are two big activities in the game that are also woven into that fabric. The first one that needs to be mentioned is Dondoko Island. Dondoko Island is a resort simulator that feels similar to Animal Crossing. You get an island with different unlockable areas that has a whole storyline with goals and tie-ins to the main gameplay. While on Dondoko Island, you'll do a lot of crafting, fishing, catching bugs, recycling, and other activities centered around building up this island resort and generating more cash for Kasuga. You put in decorations and houses and it boosts your island score. You're able to unlock different areas to the island, and it's literally this full simulation game inside of a game. I love decorating, I love farming sims, I love Animal Crossing, and this completely filled that niche for me. Another big side activity that was present in the last game, but definitely evolved with this one, is called Sujimon. I also love monster catching games. I've been playing Pokemon since forever. You can see them in the background up there. Sujimon has a full quest line where you basically meet this knockoff Professor Oak who shows you how to train perverts and degenerates to battle each other with the goal of revitalizing a secret league for people dedicated to Sujimon, complete with its own version of the Elite Four. On the main map, you'll find special battles where you can capture new Sujimon, as well as other Sujimon trainers to fight. This can help unlock new skills, generate more money for Kasuga, gets you new items and perks. Basically, it'll impact your experience of the main storyline. I can think of very few games that have this level of AAA polish, graphics, and voice acting that are also this mechanically rich to play. I have two big pieces of criticism for this game, and the first one is that the pacing wasn't great. I'm not sure I would have had a different experience if I had just rushed the main storyline instead of spending so much time on the side activities, but this game is trying to tell us a lot. The story is much more dense and introspective, especially as Kiryu is reminiscing on his past experiences. And while the game gives us time to breathe, it might also be trying to tell too many stories within the confines of one game. The second is that the monetization of this game was a little bit weird. There are 3 editions of the game, Standard, Deluxe, and Ultimate. They broke out some of the content relating to the Sujimon and Dondoko Island games into these higher editions, as well as some features like New Game Plus. I can understand having some cosmetic items or even additional non-game rewards like a digital art book or soundtrack in those higher tiers, but to parse out things that directly affect gameplay feels like they're backtracking on the quality that they've delivered to us in the past. The saving grace is that this game is so large and in-depth that you can buy just the base game and still have a gameplay experience that feels complete. The last thing I want to mention is the voice talent in the game. The voice acting in this game is great. They make the characters feel so alive, as if I'm actually listening to them. What made me bring it up though is I just found out that Robbie Daymond plays the voice of Zhao. I mostly know him from his work on Critical Role, but it was cool to find him in here. Kaiji Tang does the voice of Kasuga. He's also Archer from Fate Stay Night. And the voice of Chitose is performed by Suzy Young, who is also the voice of Nina from Star Ocean: The Divine Force, which is another game that I've covered on this channel. Basically, everything comes full circle in my cinematic universe. I can't say enough about how in-depth and fun this game has been to play, and making you go, what the hell is going on? And if you've never played it before, I'm probably throwing a ton of information at you, but this is exactly that type of game. It is so rich and in-depth and just fun to play. Thank you so much for watching along today. If you would, please consider subscribing because it is so meaningful to me and my channel and helping it grow. And it'll help you be the first to know when I release new videos. Anyways, thanks again, and I will catch you in the next one.